Under India's G20 presidency, the Precursor meeting of the G20 Space Economy Leaders meeting commenced in Shillong on the 17th April 2023. The focus of the two-day event was to showcase all the capabilities of ISRO and the Department of Space and to collaborate in future science mission. The inaugural program of the meeting held at Hotel Courtyard by Marriott was attended by Meghalaya Chief Minister Conrad K. Sangma, Union Minister of State Shri Pankaj Chaudhary, Union Minister of State Science and Technology Dr. Jitendra Singh, G20 Sherpa Shri Amitabh Kant, Secretary Department of Space Shri Somanath S, Chairman InSpace Dr. Pawan Kumar Goenka and other dignitaries. 28 delegates from the G20 and guest countries attended the meeting from Argentina, Australia, France, South Korea, Mexico, Turkey, USA, Oman, Bhutan, Sri Lanka, China, Russia, Netherlands, Germany, Indonesia and UK. Prominent international and national experts also attended the discussion. Startups in the space economy sector participated in the Precursor event and showcased their products. Some of them are Alpha Design, Satsure, OneWeb, Data Patent, Centum Azista, Aerospace, Kaliche, L&T, SkySurf, Anand Technologies, Agnikul, Digantara, Pixel and Dhuruva Space. Union Minister of State for Finance Shri Pankaj Chaudhary in his address said that Indian economy is growing at a faster rate and the major contribution to this growth is from the new space segment. Stressing on the need to conduct the space activities in a responsible manner, he said that efforts are being taken to promote new space for further fueling the space economy. As all the G20 members have established space agencies and industries, the country should also look forward to possible alliances, he said.
स्पेस इकोनॉमी तेजी से वृद्धि कर रही है और इसमें न्यू स्पेस सेगमेंट का बड़ा योगदान है। स्पेस इकोनॉमी को आगे और गति देने के समय हमें जिम्मेदारी के साथ अंतरिक्ष क्रियाकलाप आयोजन करने की आवश्यकता को ध्यान में रखना चाहिए। सभी G20 सदस्यों ने अंतरिक्ष एजेंसियों और उद्योगों को स्थापित किया है, अतः हमें संभव सहयोग की दिशा में भी विचार करना चाहिए। ध्यान देने योग्य है कि अंतरिक्ष अन्वेषण की बढ़ती मानवीय महत्वाकांक्षा को ध्यान में रखते हुए वैश्विक सहयोग और संगठन अत्यावश्यक है। हम कृषि आपदा प्रबंधन, परिवहन, स्वास्थ्य और जलवायु परिवर्तन संबंधी मुद्दों के समाधान में उपग्रह आधारित भू प्रेक्षण उपग्रह संचार और नौवहन जैसी अंतरिक्ष प्रतियोगियों को सकारात्मक प्रभाव से पहले ही परिचित हैं। इसी कारण अंतरिक्ष आधारित प्रौद्योगिकी की पहचान समृद्ध वृद्धि के एक प्रमुख योगदानकर्ता के रूप में की गई है। आम आदमी की समस्याओं के समाधान के लिए अंतरिक्ष प्रौद्योगिकी का लाभ उठाने हेतु भारतीय अंतरिक्ष कार्यक्रम के विभाग की शुरुआत हुई। आज भारतीय समाज के निचले तबके तक स्पेस एप्लीकेशन की पहुंच बन गई है। भारत सरकार ने आने वाले समय में भारतीय अर्थव्यवस्था के विकास में अंतरिक्ष क्षेत्र की पहचान प्रमुख योगदानकर्ताओं के रूप में की है। इसे साकार करने के लिए सरकार ने 2020 के अंतरिक्ष सुधारों के माध्यम से निजी निवेश के लिए भारतीय अंतरिक्ष क्षेत्र को खोल दिया है। अंतरिक्ष क्षेत्र में होने वाले सुधारों की दिशा में भारतीय उद्योगों द्वारा प्रदर्शित प्रगति उल्लेखनीय है और मैं आश्वस्त हूं कि निकट भविष्य में वैश्विक अंतरिक्ष अर्थव्यवस्था में भारत की बढ़ी हुई हिस्सेदारी से ये बात प्रमाणित हो जाएगी। इस ग्रह पर वास्तविक एवं सकारात्मक प्रभाव के लिए अंतरिक्ष प्रौद्योगिकी का उपयोग करने के अपार अवसर हैं। जैसा कि हम वसुधैव कुटुंबकम के रूप में एक धरती, एक अंतरिक्ष और एक भविष्य साझा करते हैं, हमें वैश्विक अर्थव्यवस्था में अंतरिक्ष अर्थव्यवस्था के योगदान को बढ़ाने के लिए जिम्मेदार अंतरिक्ष कार्यकर्ताओं के एक सक्रिय संगठन की आवश्यकता है।
Dr. Jitendra Singh, Union Minister of State Science and Technology, while virtually addressing the inaugural session, said that significant progress has been made as far as India's space sector is concerned. He said over these last few years, space technology has penetrated into all walks of life. As a result of this, there is a huge demand for space based services which have huge commercial potential.
The G20 Space Economy Leaders Meeting being organized under India's G20 presidency by the Department of Space, Government of India, is happening at a time when significant progress has been made as far as India's space sector is concerned. Ladies and gentlemen, under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India is one of the very, very few countries who have built end-to-end capability in space. Over these last few years, the space technology has penetrated into all walks of life. Virtually, space technology has entered every household. As a result of this, there's a huge demand for space-based services which have huge commercial potential. And so far as the Indian Space Research Organization, the ISRO, is concerned, it has been striving hard to meet the demands for the space-based services, and at the same time, ISRO also realizes the need to concentrate on research for developing new technologies and new applications. In this context, I might bring it to your notice that the government, headed by Prime Minister Modi, took a very path-breaking decision to open up the space sector for Indian private industry through the 2020 space sector reforms in order to enhance the participation of the private players in end-to-end space activities with the hand-holding from ISRO. These reforms essentially aim to make private industry a co-traveler in India's space journey by allowing them to undertake independent end-to-end space activities. As a result of this, the increased private industry participation will eventually result in increased contribution of India in the global space economy. Towards promoting and authorizing private industry, another decision was taken under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi to set up a nodal entity called Indian National Space Promotion and Authorization Center, namely INSpace. And the creation of INSpace has received overwhelming response from the Indian space industry. The first privately built sounding rocket was launched in November last, as most of you may recall, and a space startup has established a launch pad inside the very launch complex of ISRO itself. And a few startups have also built and launched satellites. In order to give further boost to the private investments, last week, the cabinet headed by Prime Minister Modi approved India's space policy, which is India Space Policy 2023, that envisages and encourages private participation in all the areas of space activities. It is therefore very appropriate that while the government of India, headed by Prime Minister Modi, has taken a number of measures, a series of measures to promote the space economy in the country, the Department of Space, Government of India and the ISRO are organizing Space Economy Leaders Meeting at Bengaluru with a Precursor event at Shillong today. I understand that the major objective of this event is to make the space a formal element of G20 discussions in the times to come.
Chief Minister of Meghalaya Shri Conrad K. Sangma, in his address, expressed gratefulness in the decision of the Prime Minister to hold the G20 programs throughout the country. As he said, if we look at the entire theme that has been brought in this discussion on space technology and economy, and the fact that it is happening here in Shillong is something that I really feel very privileged.
I've always believed that timing is something that is very crucial and very important. And if you look at the entire theme that has been brought in today,
and the discussion that we're having on space economy and the fact that it's happening here in Shillong is something that I really feel very privileged, I should say. Number one, just last week, India has cleared the policy for space. And at the same time, this is also one of the moments where India is making numerous strides, I should say, in moving forward in space technology. It is also the time when different countries, if you put all the G20 countries together, you would see that maximum investment by the G20 nations is being put into space programs. And hence, from all these factors, if you look at it, the timing of having this particular program in Shillong is something that we are very, very privileged, I should say, to host a program like this with this particular theme. It is also a great time for India, as you're aware that in the last 8 years, under the Prime Ministership and leadership of Honorable Prime Minister Mr. Modi, the country has, even economically, moved very, very fast. And we have seen a large number of reforms that have taken place. And while the country as a whole has moved forward, we have also seen that Northeast India and states like Meghalaya, which had not seen the kind of growth economically, have been able to become a part of the economic growth and success of this great nation. And hence we have seen that the Northeast also has moved forward. And that timing of all these things coming together is something I believe is a really great thing. I recall a quote from a movie. I'm sure all of you have seen the movie. It's called Gladiator. And I remember the quote that says that what we do today echoes in eternity. And I think the fact that we're having this meeting here today at a time where the Indian economy, many other economies in the world, and the space programs that are happening, the foundations are being laid at this moment. And hence, what Mr. Amitabh Kant and all the other people who have mentioned here today have said, that the foundations and the collaborations and the policies that will be laid down while we do these things, I'm sure and happy to know that the name of Shillong also will echo in eternity in the future when we discuss about all these different foundations and policies that were finalized, started here in Shillong. So I'm very happy and thankful to the Honorable Prime Minister and to the entire team of the G20 for having selected Shillong for this great program that we're having. Coming to the space technology, of course, we have all spoken about it, and I'm sure we are all experts on it. But just to add that today, from the NASAC, which is the Northeast Space Agency that is working here from Shillong, we have seen that even in the last few years, space technology has played a huge role when it comes to overall socio-economic policy making, decision making, and different implementation of programs that have been done by the state of Meghalaya and by many states in the Northeast. Just to give you a small example, that Meghalaya receives almost in certain parts 12,000 mm of rain every year. So you can imagine the kind of water that comes in. Obviously, the water coming in is a great thing, but it is also a destructive force. And hence, space technology has helped us to be able to identify, number one, the weather conditions that are happening. And of course, a lot of improvement is required out there because it's not just information, but it's what we do with the information also that's important. And hence, these kind of information that we're getting is allowing us to prepare ourselves in a much better manner, create the right policies and the right steps to take effective steps to control the damage that could be there because of the floods that are there. And hence, in issues of flood control, we are seeing the space technology is really, really helping us work in a very, very proper and a systematic and a scientific manner, I should say. Not only that, the damages that are being caused and what kind of immediate action should be taken, what kind of agriculture damage is there, what kind of damage has been there to different houses. All these aspects also are today available because of the space technology that's there with us. Apart from that, the entire Northeast being a very biosensitive, biodiverse area, space technology again helps us to really identify all the areas of the forest covers that we have and how the different impacts that are taking place because of climate change that is coming in. It is really helping us to address a lot of those concerns and giving us real-time information and data so that the right decision can be made and the right policies can be framed. Whether it's increasing, decreasing forest covers, whether it's the catchment areas and how to preserve them, and all other aspects of biodiversity, the space technology is really helping us. And I'm sure that many, many other areas of concern, whether it's internet connectivity, trade and commerce, I'm sure that more of these aspects of socio-economic policy making and decision making will happen as we move forward. Apart from that, as a state of Meghalaya, we have always believed in technology, and we have always tried our best to ensure that we use every technology that's available to ensure that we are able to provide the best services to the people and the citizens of our state. Recently, Meghalaya has been one of the few states which has started using drone technology in a very, very strong manner, not just for capturing information and data, but also for delivering medicines and important life-saving products to a lot of areas which are not accessible or are difficult to access. And hence, these kind of technologies also are being used. We are one of the few states also that has gone very aggressively into e-governance. And recently we had won an award in the WSIS competition, which was held by the UN, where the e-proposals project of Meghalaya was awarded as one of the best in the world. So technology has been a very important factor for us, and we've always welcomed technology. And I'm sure that in the coming days, with a program like this, the collaboration and the use of space technology in all aspects of governance will also go up. Last but not the least, we have a number of bilateral programs that are going on where different collaborations and programs with different nations as a state is taking place, whether it's the Smart Village Movement, where we are working with University of Berkeley, California, to really bring in technology to ensure that the basic social services are delivered at the grassroots level, has been going on for the past 3 to 4 years. And we continue to work with University of Berkeley to ensure that the villages can become smart. It's not about just a smart city or the smart town, but we feel that basic technology can really improve the overall education and health services and other social services at the grassroots level. We are also working with France on projects related to different women's self-help groups, where we are working with different fabrics, different aspects of textile, and ensuring that the natural fibers that we have in our state can then be globally used so that the different self-help groups of women in different villages can get a better market base for the products that they're making. So many other programs are there, which of course I don't want to go into details, but these collaborations and these bilateral relationships that we are having with all our G20 nations, we are hopeful that in the coming years that we will be able to improve those ties, and we will see that not just the state of Meghalaya, but we strongly feel that the northeast part of India has been a part which has not been able to contribute as much to the overall economy of the country as it could have or it has the potential to do. But I'm sure that now, with the leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister and the kind of policy and attention that's been given out here, that the overall Northeast, the potential that we have, the kind of work that we can do, the kind of contribution we can make, not just to the country, but to the G20, we are very, very hopeful that we will be able to move in the right direction. And this particular program that we're having today, this entire vision of the Honorable Prime Minister, is something that we must all be very happy and also congratulate and thank the Honorable Prime Minister for involving all the different parts of the Northeast and all the different parts of the country to be part of this G20 program.
Shri Amitabh Kant, G20 Sherpa, in his address said that India firmly believes that the country, as a global community, must think and act as one in this journey to and through the final frontier space.
I would like to start by recalling a thought shared by Wing Commander Rakesh Sharma, the first Indian citizen who went to space. He said, "Anyone who goes to space tried to look at his own country first, but soon it appears that there is no boundary between the countries and the entire world is one family where destinies are integrated, where our destinies are integrated." I would like everyone to take a moment to consider how this thought, shared decades ago, is reflected in the theme of India's G20 presidency, Vasudev Kutumbakam, or one earth, one family, one future. India firmly believes that we as a global community must think and act as one in this journey to and through the final frontier space. From providing digital communication services in the hardest to reach places to monitoring cyclones, rainfall, and crop cycles, space-based technology solutions help all our nations leapfrog in socio-economic development. In G20, we recognize that space-based technology solutions play a central enabling role in such development in each of our nations and also as a global community. The future has a lot more in store. Aptly summarized in the theme New Space Era, Economy, Responsibility, and Alliance, the upcoming era must move beyond treating space as an enabler to treating space itself as an asset and economic enterprise. In my view, I think it's important to dwell a little bit on what India's approach to space has been, and it would be incomplete without mentioning the vision of Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who spearheaded the space movement. And he said we must be second to none in the application of advanced technology to the real problems of man and society. ISRO has done path-breaking work in India. It has done enormous work, and this is a huge opportunity also to celebrate how ISRO has gone above and beyond its responsibility by nurturing the upstream industries in India, helping them develop the technological capability. However, today we feel that the private sector has a very critical role to play. And therefore, the Indian Space Policy 2023 was announced earlier this month with the goal of institutionalizing and facilitating the access of private sector participation in the space sector for India. It provides a framework of roles and responsibilities of ISRO in space and the private sector to work together towards establishing India as a hub of global space economy. Ladies and gentlemen, we are seeing a vast range of new startups in space transportation, space infrastructure, space applications from across the world. The theme for this event is New Space Economy, Responsibility and Alliance. And in this global era, space era filled with transformative ideas and innovative technologies, it is imperative that we formulate the G20 shared vision of new space. As we move towards formulating such a shared vision, it is important that we have the guiding principle that the pursuit of space science and space economy should be for the sustainable development of the humankind. This shared vision should build on the benchmark of that a civilization is able to harness all the energy that reaches Earth from the sun. The shared vision includes the civilization being able to sustainably utilize the resources in nearby asteroids and planets for the socio-economic development of humankind. And the G20 will play a central role in achieving this vision in the new space era. With the perspective of space as an economic sector, we need to promote movement of space technology across borders. This includes technology trade, startup collaborations, talent exchange, and investments with an underlying focus on developing applications. To achieve this, we need policy frameworks that enable the new space economy in all G20 countries. As echoed in the theme of our G20 presidency, a shared future is a shared responsibility. Spectrum and orbital slots are both scarce resources, so we need to use them more judiciously. That starts by taking active measures for decluttering our orbits and keeping them that way. We need policy frameworks that ensure space is accessible to all and remains accessible for future generations. Ladies and gentlemen, the human civilization needs to develop a lot more scientific and technological capabilities to achieve our shared vision. And the development of these capabilities need multilateral collaboration. It's important that we work in three key areas of collaboration: manufacturing in space, energy in space, and mining in space. These must form the foundation on which the G20 will be able to build the civilization of its shared vision. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm of the belief that we must start by developing and implementing new space applications for socio-economic development. Next, we must establish policies that create an enabling environment for development and trade in the new space era. And then, with the collaboration of all of us in the G20 members, we can boldly go into our shared future.
Shri Somanath S., Chairman ISRO, in his address lauded the activities undertaken of Northeastern Space Applications Center and said that it is looking specifically to the problems of this region across different issues. The chairman hoped that the effort everyone put today will come up with some fruitful outcome and assess the space community at different levels in each of our nations.
And this Precursor event is a new element in the SELM, and it's aimed at taking the space beyond the people who deal with space activity alone, of course, to the ambassadors and high commissioners and councillors who will become more aware of those activities of space, and specifically the domain of economy and how it feeds into the national economy. And we hope that the effort being put today by the space community at different levels in each of your nations and in the fora of the G20 in the future, and we will definitely have an opportunity to translate this SELM into a formal G20 agenda item in the forthcoming years. And all of you are aware that space economy is growing at a steady rate over the last many years. And of course, some of the predictions in the past, maybe by 2040, the size of this economy is going to be as much as $1 trillion. And this steady growth needs sustained and thorough, conducive policy framework and support programs in each of the nations. And relevance of the G20 comes into picture in this context. And considering space more as an economic contributor and as a device for common framework among G20 nations certainly will benefit the global economy as we are all forecasting now. One of the important challenges in space economy is the size at which it grows. We will be faced with issues related to sustainability of outer space. And this industry is also poised to become substantially bigger in the coming years. And we should make sure that it should not be shut down or slowed down by the issues that are likely to come up if we are not careful at this moment. And I know that each one of you, the G20 nations, are having their own national space programs, which is very important for each one of you. And we look at it more and more into the importance of feeding into the economy of each of your nations. And I'm very sure, even while we work as a nation in space activities, the alliance that we want to bring in at this moment between each of your nations is something that we would like to put on the table for discussions and conclusions. Of course, we know that we have great amount of bilateral relationships between each of these nations, and we would like to look at from the framework of G20 towards this activity. In summary, what I would like to convey to the distinguished ambassadors, high commissioners, and councillors and representatives from G20 nation is that substantial reason for space economy to be discussed in the formal mode in G20, while we continue to discuss on the space agency and space industry level. And also we need to take this to the policy and diplomatic level to give an extra mileage to the activity that we are currently undertaking in the technology level. Reflecting on this above aspect, we have framed the theme of this SCLM as the space era, the new space era, where we discuss the economy, the responsibility, and the alliance.
Dr. Pawan Kumar Goenka, Chairman InSpace, provided insightful on evolving Indian space policy framework and future outlook.
This is the fourth space economy leaders meeting on the sidelines of G20. And one of our stated objectives is to make space part of the main agenda, the formal agenda. Of course, this will depend on what kind of justification and resolutions we are able to put forward with the meetings that we are having today and in July. For Indian space sector, this is the most opportune time to have this SCLM precursor meeting, given that India is going through the most significant transition in the space sector in decades. All spacefaring nations are part of the G20 group, and all G20 plus 9 guest countries have strong interest in growing the space sector, both for economic as well as societal benefits. Space indeed appears to have become the sunrise sector. It is a sector with most complex technology, huge investments, and significant risks, and hence alliances become extremely important. I need not tell you that space technology plays a big role in furthering social well-being and sustainable growth in the post-COVID-19 pandemic era. Notably, space technologies can contribute to bridging the digital divide, monitor changing climate, extreme weather, use of natural resources, address challenges for clean energy, drinking water, tele-education, telemedicine, communication, and create new economic opportunities. Hence, very crucial to achieve the 17 Global Sustainable Development Goals by 2013 and create equitable prosperity for all. Space is a fourth frontier, common for all. Sustainability of the outer space infrastructure is central to our world's very survivability in future. Hence, it is of significant value for the G20 group of nations to work collaboratively and responsibly to address challenges in this sector, which will have far-reaching impact for the global population. The space sector is also a significant contributor to economic growth. The current $740 billion industry is expected to cross $1 trillion by 2040. The world is entering into a new era for the space industry, from extraterrestrial exploration to declining launch cost to highly advanced Earth observation capabilities. The space sector is truly taking off for newer orbits. In this new space era, the opportunity for private industry is immense. Deliberations like what we are having today are especially important, and including space as the formal agenda item for the G20 deliberations could significantly advance space partnerships among G20 nations and contribute to the growth of global space economy.
This program also is something that we're very excited about. It's a subject that is something that is going to be of great importance to not just our state but the entire world. And therefore, we're happy that important decisions, discussions and policy matters will be discussed here in Shillong when it comes to the collaboration of different programs being held by different countries. As you know, the G20 countries, almost all the G20 nations are investing very, very aggressively in space technology. And therefore, the timing of this particular program in Shillong is of great importance, because we are seeing that that in the area of space technology, that there are a lot of areas which need to be worked out. There is policy matters need to be discussed. All the countries need to come together and discuss how they should move forward. So hence the timing of this program also is very crucial, and therefore we're very happy that Shillong is becoming part of a very important historic discussion that is taking place on space technology and space economy. Overall, as G20, Meghalaya and the Northeast as a whole, has to contribute, and I'm sure will contribute more in the coming years. We have seen that slowly and steadily Northeast India has been now contributing much more to the overall economic activity in the country, and we are hopeful that through these programs we will see much more collaboration between the Northeast states and the G20 nations, so that we're able to build up the overall economic work that's going on in the state and in the region as well. I think that number one, we take steps to have advance warnings, so that people can come to safe areas, because we know that there's going to be a lot of heavy rain. So advance information, which technology helps us, will help us to take precautionary measures. And number two, as I said, once the damage is done, to assess it, technology will help us to be able to know exactly where the point areas are. Satellite pictures can allow us to know that, well, if the water has to be blocked to go into certain areas, where it has to be done. If the water has to be allowed to flow, then which areas need to be opened up. All these kind of micro details planning is coming in. But obviously in the long run, we have to realize that there has to be efforts for overall flood control in terms of different canals being built, or diversion of water, or protection areas that need to be created. So those are larger infrastructure things, which is a medium term thing. And in the long term, we obviously have to realize that weather patterns and all are affected by climate change. So all efforts need to be made to ensure that we are able to adapt to it, and also we're able to ensure that steps are taken to control the effect of climate change.
Considering space economy is a very important sector, will the state government also frame some policies for startups from the state who want to venture into the space economy?
Yeah, so Government of India has now come out with a space policy. So there the involvement, and obviously it's a subject that is very much in the domain of the central government. But we have seen that that now Government of India has encouraged through this policy the involvement of private sector, which is a really encouraging thing, because that is the only way to ensure that innovation takes place. For innovation, we need the private sector entrepreneurs to come in. We have seen this happening in other parts of the world, and hence the story in India is no different. And we have seen that India has a huge resource of entrepreneurs and young technicians and entrepreneurs who will be able to bring in innovation given the chance. So therefore, I'm very happy that the policy has come in, and definitely wherever Meghalaya can play a role in ensuring that our youngsters and our different companies who would be interested in space technology, we will be there to obviously help. Entrepreneurship is an area which I have promoted myself a lot, and I would like to see that one day, yes, that not just big companies from other parts of the country, but I hope that we will see startups from Meghalaya also play a big role in space technology.
Can you tell us about NESAC? Because whether the states have utilized them or they have not lived up to our expectations. NESAC.
No, so therefore NESAC has been very cooperative, and we have been using and working with NESAC very closely. Of course, the possibilities are limitless. So obviously we cannot say that we've been able to go into every aspect of space technology and using NESAC's real strengths, I should say. But the impact has been great. Government of India has been stressing a lot on this, and just to share with you, there are multiple projects going on as we speak to use space technology. For example, the afforestation that we're doing it with NESAC. The catchment area protection work that we're doing it with NESAC. The entire reservoir creation that we're doing with NESAC. So there are multiple projects: agriculture, forest cover. All these aspects are being worked with NESAC. But obviously, scope is very, very large, keeping in mind the capability that NESAC has. But as we go forward, and I'm sure programs like these will allow us now to really push this entire space technology aspect even further.
In India, we've made a lot of progress. The space policy has recently come out, and there are a number of startups who are working in the space sector. India has opened up its space sector for the private sector players. Many of the startups are here, and it's a very good interaction because collaboration is necessary amongst G20 countries. And collaboration for the future is necessary because it's an emerging area of growth. What the rules, regulation, policies will be. And in that, ISRO has to play a very critical role. The space leaders of India have to play a very critical role, and therefore they're guiding the discussions here. We've had a very fruitful, constructive discussion in Shillong, Shillong is very important because we have a space center here, and because space technology has to play a very critical role in the development of Northeast, and therefore our view is that Shillong is the ideal place for this meeting. More than that, we've completed 100 meetings in our calendar. We have a meeting in Varanasi, which will be the 100th meeting on the agricultural scientists, and therefore, out of the 215 meetings, we are close to having completed 100 meetings, and Shillong meeting is also a very, very important and a critical meeting. We would like to thank the Chief Minister for having participated, and to the government of Meghalaya for having being a very key partner in this development.
So, the startups, like after Skyroot, we are not seeing something like SpaceX or something. What is your assessment about the startups in the space technology in India?
So there's a huge future in terms of manufacturing, in terms of launches. There are over 500 startups who've registered within space, and I think you will see a massive impetus to startups in India because the policy framework now has been developed and created for the startups to drive the space sector in India. We are here to assist and support them. Both NSIL and InSpace are here to fully handhold them. And that is why the InSpace chairman, Mr. Goenka, was also here. We are all fully supporting the Indian startups to lead us in the space sector.
So you talk about collaboration. Is this only like which are the other, apart from the G20 nations, are we also looking beyond that?
No, so the G20, this is a meeting of G20 because at first I think G20 space leaders have to formulate the view. Once that view has been finalized, then we'll take it to other places. But this is a G20 meeting.
Yeah, but I'm saying like
G20, but G20 covers 85% of the global economy, almost 78% of the global population, almost 80% of the trade, and therefore G20 is very important.
Where do we see India in the next 10 years in space?
As a leader in space technology, as a leader in space manufacturing, as a leader in space energy, as a leader in space mining.